An emigrant branch of the Drúedain accompanied the folk of Haleth at the end of the First Age, and dwelt in the forest of Brethil with them. But most of them had remained in the White Mountains in spite of their persecution by later arrived men, who had relapsed into the service of the dark. The Drúedain in the Second Age. It is said that the native people of Enedwyth, fleeing from the devastations of the Númenóreans along the course of the Gwaeltho, did not cross the Isen nor take refuge in the great promontory between Isen and Lefnwy that formed the north arm of the Bay of Belfalas, because of the Púcal men, who were a secret and fell people, tireless and silent hunters, using poison darts. They said that they had always been there and had formerly lived also in the White Mountains. In ages past they had paid no heed to the great Dark One, Morgoth, nor did they later ally themselves with Sauron, for they hated all invaders from the east. From the east, they said, had come the tall men who drove them from the White Mountains, and they were wicked at heart. Maybe even in the days of the War of the Ring, some of the Drú folk lingered in the mountains of Underust, the western outlier of the White Mountains. But only the remnant in the woods of Anorion were known to the people of Gondor. The Púcal men occupied the White Mountains on both sides in the First Age. When the occupation of the coastlands by the Númenóreans began in the Second Age, they survived in the mountains of the promontory of Underust, which was never occupied by the Númenóreans. Another remnant survived at the eastern end of the range in Anorion. At the end of the Third Age, the latter, much reduced in numbers, were believed to be the only survivors. Hence, the other region was called the Old Púcal Wilderness, Drúedain. It remained a wilderness and was not inhabited by men of Gondor or of Rohan, and was seldom entered by any of them. But men of the Anfalas believed that some of the old wild men still lived there secretly. But in Rohan, the identity of the statues of Dunharrow, called Púcal men, with the wild men of the Drúedain forest, was not recognized, neither was their humanity. Hence the reference by Gan Buri Gan to persecution of the wild men by the Rohirrim in the past. Leave wild men alone in the woods and do not hunt them like beasts any more. Since Gan Buri Gan was attempting to use the common speech, he called his people wild men, not without irony, but this was not, of course, their own name for themselves.